This is episode 111. You imagine that? 111. And today on Cultivating Guts, we are talking about the science and soul of breath and sound for the nervous system healing. Welcome to Cultivating Guts Podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Hinton. I am an integrated wellness guide, herbalist, and sacred systems teacher, helping busy women ground their energy and glow from the inside. In today's episode, we are exploring something deeply restorative and wildly important: the science and soul of breathwork and sound healing, and how these ancient tools support your nervous system, emotional release, and spiritual alignment. We'll dive into the research-backed benefits of sound and breath. We'll explore yogic wisdom around Prana and Naad, and bridge both the Eastern and the Western perspective on how healing really works from a cellular level to the energetic field. So if you're feeling frazzled, burnt out, or just craving a moment of exhale, this episode is your permission to slip into pause, breathe, and begin to re-regulate from the inside out. Let's get started. Grab your cup of tea, and we'll jump right into the episode. All right, guys, I'm so excited to be here with you. Oh my goodness. Today's episode is near and dear to my heart. I see this glare from this light. There we go. What I have found is that as a busy mom myself, going into the corporate office, school schedules, I just did drop off because one of my kids didn't want to ride the bus, but she had 2 backpacks because she's got practice after school. You just get overwhelmed sometimes. You get to where you have shallow breathing, you're breathing in and out of your shoulders, you've got like that stress breath, and you've got to just take a moment to pause and belly breathe. Whether that's at the office and you've just been delivered like ridiculous news, like somebody needs something by tomorrow or by the end of the day, and you're like, yeah, whatever, there's no way that's happening, and you get a little stressed out. Or you just realize that you're single parenting because your spouse is out of town for a work trip and you've got kids that need to be in 2 different places at the exact same time, and that's not going to work, right? Like all of these things, I'm sure not myself, but other people have had happen for them as well. And it's just like, it throws our nervous system into fight or flight or freeze or fawn, right? They used to just say it's fight or flight. Now there's actually 4 places where the nervous system can get stuck in, whether it's trauma-inducing, triggering. It affects us, and it affects the way we breathe. It affects our health. It affects a lot of stuff, and we're going to dive into that today. But I want you to know you're not alone. Like, I'm crazy busy sometimes, and I just have to remember I need to breathe. I just need to pause. Take a deep breath. Inside out, right? And it just resets. And so I'm excited to talk through this with you on the podcast today. I do have, if you see my eyes, if you're watching the video, dart to the side, I have an outline just to kind of keep me on target because I have about 40 minutes to get all of this done, and I want to join a yoga class this morning because of Pluto retrograde. I mean, like, the energy is amazing. If you've been on Instagram, you're going to see I have some stuff out there about Pluto. I'm not going to dive into Pluto on this podcast. It's on Instagram if you want to see it. All right. So with that, breathwork and sound healing, why for me, right? We just talked about why for me because it helps bring my nervous system back into balance. It helps calm me. It helps me find the pause in the day. Those are the big things. Those are the big 3 for me. Why, right? I also know it really, really works. And we're going to talk through some of the science and some of the ancient wisdoms as well. So let's jump into the actual science around breath and sound, right? And a couple of key things to remember around this is that breath and sound healing have been around for thousands of years. Yes, thousands of years, whether you look at traditional monks, you look at Chinese medicine, or you look at the monks, Tibetan monks, or the Buddhist monks, like the chanting, the sound, right? It's been there for thousands of years. And modern technology and modern science is now saying, well, let me look into that. Well, oh, there's really science behind it. It really, really works. And it's supported by modern research and technology and the things that we're able to now look at, from whether it's our breath rate or our heart rate or the energetics that are around us. And when I say energetics, like everybody's body has an electromagnetic field that can be measured. So you can measure your heart rate, you can measure your breath rate, you can measure, right, like your heart rate average. You can measure all that. You can measure your sleep patterns now. You can measure your brain waves. Are you in gamma? Are you in alpha? Are you in theta? All of this is now measurable. And the science is showing that your breathing and your sound play an impact in keeping you regulated and keeping you balanced. So breath and the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system has different things that it does for us, right? One is that it does things we automatically need to do to stay alive without thinking about it. It makes your heart beat. It makes you breathe. You don't have to sit here and tell yourself, and breathe, and breathe, and take a deep breath, and breathe. Like, our nervous system works with our body, and we just breathe. Same thing. Our heart just works. We don't have to necessarily tell our liver, oh, it's time to flush, or our gallbladder. There's things that happen in our body or in our environment that help indicate, right? Maybe it needs to go faster, maybe it needs to go slower, things like that. But that's all happening in our autonomic nervous system. Now, slowing down, taking deep breaths, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our resting state, which allows our body to heal and digest. So when your body is in fight or flight, freeze or fawn, which means you're either queued up, that you're going to run really fast away from that saber-toothed tiger, you're going to sit there and box that bear in the nose and fight, or you're just going to freeze and like hope that nobody sees you and you're going to be frozen, or you're going to fawn and maybe you faint or something else. When your body is in those situations, it doesn't spend time digesting your food. It doesn't spend time healing things that might be injured from muscles, joints, inflammation, other things happening. It doesn't allow us to process toxins because it's using all its energy to produce the hormones for the nervous system response. So it's important for us to take time to slow down, to deep breathe, to slow down, especially before we go to bed at night, or to take a few deep breaths before you start to eat a meal and after you eat so that your food can digest. Otherwise, your body just makes it stick there. You might end up with constipation, bloating, undigested food. You might be pooping out things that are whole and were never actually digested. Like, part of that's related to your nervous system. So Harvard and Stanford both did studies showing that coherent breathing, meaning that you're doing 5 to 6 breaths a minute, improves your heart rate variability, reduces your cortisol. And so you're training your body, now slowing your body down so you're only breathing in and breathing out 5 rotations or 6 rotations a minute can take a little while, especially if you haven't been doing it. And so I would always suggest starting with like counting to 8 in. So holding your breath for 8 and then slowly breathing out for a count of 8, counting in your head, and then moving it to 10. And they say if you can get to 20, not counting so fast, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get to 20. No, 1, 2, 3, like regular counting, moderate, counting to 20 so that you're inhaling so slowly and you're filling up your belly. You're filling up your chest, you're filling up your side pockets of your lungs, and then you're holding that for 20. I used to do when I was first starting Kundalini, these, how long could you hold your breath, right? And I know divers do this as well, and some other athletes, they like work on like filling up all those compartments that will hold air, and then they work on holding their breath and like Wim Hof teaches this. If you've ever done Wim Hof training, I had an opportunity to do that a while ago, probably like 5 years ago, as well. And when you can hold your breath for a minute, 2 minutes, and then slowly let it out over the count of 20, it's pretty cool. Don't start with just holding your breath. Don't just go and then hold forever. You actually have to intentionally, when you're inhaling, to train your body and to like do the improvement, you have to intentionally fill up the belly. The belly will expand. Fill up the chest. You will feel a little bit of expansion, and filling up the air pockets on the sides of our body, which will feel like your back is inhaling. Okay. There's also some reference from Brown and Gerbach, if you want to research that as well, around yogic breathing and anxiety reduction. But basically, what Harvard and Stanford studies find is that when you train the breathing, you slow the breathing down, you actually are able to have a better heart rate, so that when you do experience a trigger, a stress response, a traumatic experience, your body is not staying in that anxiety, that fight, flight, fear, or fawn as long, and you're able to bring yourself back to your standard patterns faster. But you're also reducing the cortisol in your body, so you're reducing over time the inflammation. So these are all good things, right? Excuse me. Sound healing, science there, right? Because you're going to combine sound with breath. I love doing this. I do this in sound baths. And we have a sound bath this Friday night. So if you're listening to this when it first comes out and you're local to Chicago, you can still register to come to the sound bath. There's a few seats left. It's in Buffalo Grove. But I love to combine the breath work with the sound healing, whether you do that through mantra and chanting, or you do that through Tibetan singing bowls, crystal bowls, gongs while you're doing breath work. And so last month, and we're going to do something very similar this Friday, we opened up our spine a little bit with some chanting. Then we moved into right nostril, left nostril, alternate breathing to balance the brain waves and to put everything kind of back in parasympathetic mode. And then we did cross heart Kirtan Kriya, and then I had them close their eyes. In doing that, cross heart Kirtan Kriya works with sound and with breath, and then the alternate nostril breathing. Many of the women said it was the best spiritual experience they'd ever had at a sound healing, because we set up the body before they close their eyes to just listen and to be moved into a frequency where the brain could process healing and detoxing. And so doing these things together is the magic. Doing these together is part of the system, right? And it's really important. So sound healing, whether it's by normal beats or it's the 432 gigahertz, it's going to shift that brain wave down from beta to alpha and theta, which puts you in a deep relaxation state. Shifting that brainwave into that deep relaxation state allows your body to relax. It allows it to find healing. It allows it to do a lot of other things. The sound frequency affects the cellular structure along with the brain chemistry. Okay, so those are studies that have been done by somatics. They've been done by NIH, which is the National Institute of Health, and there's lots of studies there. And a lot of people will tell you it's like vibrational medicine. And you can go back anymore into integrated health, and you can go see sound healers. I actually do private sound healing as well for individuals. And you can see where they're using tuning forks or they're using vibrations, sonic waves, things like that, to fight tumors, to break up things in the body when they don't want to do invasive surgery. So it's really like these ancient things like the gong baths and the singing bowls, they're not of the devil. I know a lot of us, myself, maybe not you, but myself was raised very, very rigorous religion, and all of the stuff coming out of the East was seen as the devil's work. And when you actually get into the science behind it, it's not the devil's work. I really think God in the universe produced these thousands of years ago to help people find healing from things. Think about, you get arthritis, which is a lot of times uric acid build up in the joints. It's inflammation in the joints, and then the joints swell and they heat and they're painful. And what about, they didn't have aspirin, they didn't have Tylenol. Of course, they had medicinals, and you could do things, like wild lettuce and other stuff for your pain. But having a metal instrument that would create a vibration that you could then touch to the spot where your pain is, that would actually break up the uric acid so that then your body could process it and you could excrete it and get rid of your arthritis. I don't think that was from the devil. I think God knew what he was doing when he introduced that stuff. If you do any of the research for St. Hildegard, that's a whole nother podcast, guys, because that's all more around plants and all the different medicines you could get naturally. She was recognized by the Catholic Church. So again, these things that have been around for a very, very long time, science is now, because that's where we are in the Western world, we're like, well, prove it to me. It's proving it's accurate. It's proving it's true. The other thing to think about when it comes to sound healing and breath work is the vagus nerve connection, okay? So your vagus nerve is your longest nerve that runs through your body. People will call it your life nerve. You'll do yogic stretches that are called life nerve stretch to kind of stretch out and to work with that vagus nerve. You do belly pumping breath work where you're intentionally breathing so that you're pumping your navel center. That's working with your vagus nerve. But so breathing, chanting, humming tones all work in conjunction with the vagus nerve. And when you are working with your vagus nerve, you're improving your mood regulation, you're balancing out hormones, you're working with your digestion, and you're working with your immune response. And those are all super important for our bodies. Super important for us to have health. I apologize, I keep coughing. Okay, we're going to move into the second kind of little segment of the podcast. And we're going to talk about yogic wisdom and prana, right? So first of all, let's talk about what is prana and what is Naad. And let me give you some definitions. So prana is breath. Naad, N-A-A-D, Naad, is sound, okay? And so for yogic wisdom, we combine prana and Naad. We combine breath and sound to create healing, to create transitions, to create transformation, to create space, to create calmness, right? There's a lot of things you create when you combine these together. So prana is your life force energy. Without breath, we don't live. We all know that. If we start breathing where we're just like, you hyperventilate, which can make you pass out, which can, in extreme cases, cause you to have a cardiac arrest. Like there's things that happen because your breath is not where it needs to be. So breath is the carrier of prana in our body. Now, through pranayama, which is, right, the breath, we direct and expand life force. It increases our vitality, our focus, our immunity by putting oxygen back into our organs, putting oxygen back into our body, putting oxygen back into our brains. Have you ever, as a kid, like held your breath so long you were dizzy because you took the oxygen out of your body, right? Or maybe it was not on purpose as a child. Maybe somebody held you under in the swimming pool and they let you go and you're like coughing and you're just like dizzy. That prana is super important for us. Okay. You could look at hatha yoga, which is a lot of breath work, or kundalini, which is what I love to work with, which is including breath work with movement, with sound to create these things. Naad, right, is the sound. So Naad is a sacred sound current. A lot of times that's done through mantra. So you might be very familiar with Om or Ah if you've done any of the Western traditional morning wake-ups. You chant Ah over and over again, or you chant Om before you're going to bed at night. Naad yoga uses sound vibration to tune the mind and body to peace and clarity. Right? And it's similar in a sound bath. You're going to use sound vibration. You're going to use C and G played together will actually balance the right and left hemisphere of the brain. It will bring the brain back into balance, C and G played together, right? And And so a lot of times I'll do that by playing my root chakra bowl with my sacral bowl. And I can normally get a C and a G that way. You can get tuning forks that are tuned to C and G. You can do other things like that. So if you take sound healing classes, they're going to teach you this stuff. The chanting of Sat Nam, or even Kirtan Kriya, which I love the cross heart Kirtan Kriya, is scientifically proven that it improves your memory and your emotional resilience. And UCLA did a huge Alzheimer's research study and came back and said that if you do Kirtan Kriya, your dementia, your memory fogginess, your forgetfulness, and your Alzheimer's will improve. You're not necessarily going to cure it, because you can put Alzheimer's into remission, but that's a whole nother protocol by Dr. Dale Bredesen, if you want to go look that up. But doing Kirtan Kriya allows us to have memory improvements. So even if you're not diagnosed with Alzheimer's, you're not diagnosed with dementia, but you know it runs in your family, or you just feel like you're getting older and you keep forgetting things, maybe you want to start some daily practices of Kirtan Kriya, where you're doing the Sa, Ta, Na, Ma, and you're putting your index finger and thumb together, your middle finger and thumb together, your ring finger and thumb together, your pinky and thumb, and you're doing it intentionally, right? And it's 12 minutes a day, honestly. You can find the playlist on Spotify. We have it in our membership site. We have a full class on Cross Heart Kirtan Kriya. There's a couple of different versions. There's a short version, there's a long version. And you don't have to, you could watch the class in the membership one time, learn it, and then you could just save the Spotify playlist or the Spotify song and just do it on your own. You can do it anywhere. A chair, your desk, in bed, in the car. If you're driving, you can do it maybe with one hand, with your eyes open. There's walking. There's no excuse, I don't have 12 minutes to get on a yoga mat. Cool, you don't need a yoga mat for this. And then we can learn also through chakras and energy pathways, the sound and breath unlock some of that stuck energy in the chakras, especially around the solar plexus, which is around your navel, your heart, and your root, which is down the root of your body, right? The bottom, down by your tailbone. Those are important for us to make sure that they don't get stuck up, especially as a mom. We need those energy centers. The solar plexus is power. The heart is love. The root is safety. We need to be able to have that for ourselves, but we also need to be able to create safety, love, and power for our children. So let's talk about bridging some of the stuff we've been talking about, which I feel like a lot of that is Eastern tradition, Eastern medicine, right? With our Western world, if you're living in the US, we have a lot of Western traditions, Western beliefs, things that maybe were originally brought over from the patriarchy when you migrated or your family migrated over from the Western European areas, right? So when I think of Eastern medicine myself, I think of Ayurvedic medicine. I think of traditional Chinese medicine. Those are two very specific ones. So we're linking the breath to balancing the doshas, or moving the chi, which is the life force, through the body, through breath, through different meridian points if you're talking about Chinese medicine. Sound healing is used in chakra balancing, meridian therapy, and mantra therapy, which again is coming out of Eastern tradition, Eastern medicine. Meridian therapy, you would be applying probably to the different meridian points. So think about your acupuncture points. You'd be applying current there. So traditional Chinese medicine doctor may have put an acupuncture needle in to the meridian point and then applied vibration to the meridian point. Acupressurist may take a tuning fork and apply the vibration to the pressure point through the tuning fork. So one of the things I love to do at the end of a sound healing is on your left hand in the middle of your palm, there is a heart center point. And I bring a very specific tuning fork that actually has a amethyst end on it. And we send the frequency of love through the heart center pressure point in the palm of your left hand, up the meridian point into your heart chakra. And I love to do that for people and just give them kind of an energetic hug through that love frequency. And so if you ever come to one of our sound baths, normally that is always an offering at the end of the sound bath. And then we talk about Western medicine. So Western medicine, you're going to be looking at traditional medicine, but also functional medicine was developed in the West. Love me some good old functional medicine, and neuroscience. So when we're thinking about sound and we're thinking about breath, we want to probably look at functional medicine and neuroscience. Functional medicine emphasizes nervous system regulation for gut, hormone, and immune health. Functional medicine believes that the body systems all work together, and you need to have that co-regulation of the whole body to create healing. You just can't see the gut doctor and make your gut better. You got to look at everything: your stress, your trauma, your exercise, your blood work. You got to look at your water intake. It's not just one doctor, right? And so it's a whole body look when it comes to functional, including your history, both your family history, your personal history, your stress history, your trauma history, your environmental history. Like, there's a whole system that they look at in functional medicine, but their emphasis is on nervous system regulation. And you can get the nervous system regulation through the breath work and the sound and pairing them together. And then we look at sound and breath stimulation for the lymphatic system, right? And so a lot of us lately, if you're like me and you're in perimenopause, you're having a lot of buildup. Like you feel like you've got extra water. And I think some of our old doctors would have told us to go take a water pill. I remember even my mom would be like, I gotta go take my water pill so my legs don't swell up, so I don't end up with cankles, right? Where your ankles are full of liquid by the end of the day because you got edema happening. You can use breath and sound to stimulate that lymphatic system as well to create drainage. A lot of us too now understand more about the tapping that's happening, the smacking, hitting yourself under your knees, under your armpits, intentionally opening up those lymphatic pathways. People would do that with the gushas. I probably totally butchered that, but that's Chinese medicine, where you take these flat, normally made of different crystals or minerals, and you scrape up your skin in certain directions, or you take your fingers from your ears down to your throat and you push the lymphatic fluid so it can drain out, right? It's the same reason a lot of people now are using, and I have one at my house, a vibration plate. So trampoline, rebounding, vibration plate, they shake you. I always feel like it's that old cartoon, or actually they did exist in the 50s and 60s, where people would put a rubber band around their butt or their hips and they'd shake it out. Somebody back then was smart enough to know that weight loss that they were getting was actually lymphatic drainage. My dad will tell stories about how one of his great aunts had one of those and he got stuck in it. Imagine this child just being shook to death. I laugh because I can see that, and my dad was always into mischief. But all of that is about lymphatic drainage, right? And lymphatic drainage is important. It helps aid in our traumatic healing as well. And then we have emotional healing that leads to psychological healing over time. Working through, you have to work through first the trauma and the traumatic responses, and then you can release maybe the triggers over time. And so those things happen when we start to include breath and sound into our practices weekly, daily, a few times a week. So I'm going to suggest a few rituals here that you can take away and you can do. The very first one I would suggest is the Kirtan Kriya. Try cross-heart Kirtan Kriya for 3 minutes. You can find the video on our YouTube channel. You can find it specifically in our Grounding and Glowing Sanctuary membership for busy moms. And you get the first 7 days for free. So it's a no-brainer. Go do 7 days for free. There's also a free version of the membership, which gets you minimal stuff. But And then go try this for a few days. Try cross heart Kritan Kriya for 3 days, for 3 minutes. Try it for 7 days. They don't have to be 7 days straight in a row. Being honest with you, that puts a lot of stress on me when I'm like, I have to do yoga every single day. No. 3-4 days a week is fabulous. So give it, where it fits. Coherent breathing practices. Try inhaling for a count of 5 or a count of 8, holding it, exhaling for a count, equal counts, right? Inhale for 8, hold for 8, exhale for 8. Using lavender, specifically using the frequency of the 432 or 528 frequency. You can find those on Spotify. There's a couple of different, you can just type that in there and it'll give you a list of songs and playlists that have those frequencies. And then create a sanctuary micro moment for yourself for just 5 minutes during the day today. And try one of these practices. Try one of these rituals. And I personally want to invite you, if you are Chicago local, to come and experience the sound bath with the full moon energy this Friday night. We're doing it on May 9th, and it's in Buffalo Grove at Healing Light Wellness Center. Details are on our Instagram page. They're on our mailing list if you get emails from us, or if your emails are going into your spam folder, go look for those. There's details there, and you can call Healing Light Wellness Center and sign up. It's an hour and a half. It's an amazing experience, and you're going to walk away feeling a little bit different. I don't want to tell you how you're going to feel, but I'm going to tell you right now that you might feel super relaxed. You might feel like you had a spiritual awakening. You may feel like you just had a spiritual experience. You may feel like you just took a big nap and you don't know what the hell happened. You just went to sleep, and all of those are perfect. All of those are so perfect. So let's see. I think, yeah. The other thing you guys can do is you can hop over if you want. We have a 3-minute nervous system reset that you can grab off of our YouTube channel. You can, I already talked about the membership a little bit, so I'm not going to go in great there. And I think we're just going to close out this episode. So thank you for joining us for this soul-rooted episode for the Cultivating Guts podcast. I hope it brought you clarity, inspiration, and a few moments about the power of your own breath and the healing magic of sound. If something from today's episode resonated with you or you have questions, you guys send me a message on Instagram at I am Tiffany Hinton. I love to hear what lands for you. I'd love to get you more information if you actually need information, if you have questions. And I really would love for you to experience one of the practices that we have coming up in real life. So Friday, May 9th, 6 p.m., Healing Light Wellness Center. You have to call and make a reservation. We have a full moon sound bath. The full experience. It's an hour and a half. We deep dive into the tools that we were talking about on today's podcast with community, with a circle and a container that I'm holding for you, and the healing energy of a full moon. We'll be in 3 days before a full moon, 3 days after a full moon. You can still tap into that, and we're tapping into the full moon energy from May, which gives us deeper healing, deeper release, deeper detoxification. It's truly a lunar healing. You can call Healing Light Wellness Center at 224-481-2055 and sign up. The other event that I'm going to mention, which is something, this is the first time we're doing it, so it's exciting, is May 13th. Next Tuesday from when this podcast is going to be released. Also hosted at Healing Light Wellness Center because I want to do it in their EE system space and room, and it's important. So they have this EE system, which is putting scalar waves and photons and light, right? Photons are light, and sound waves into a room, and it's creating this healing and this space where those things are getting put into your body through the environment. What we're pairing it with is a spinal kriya. It specifically is targeting the liver and the gallbladder to create cleansing properties. And we're doing it the day after the full moon. So we're still in that full moon detox energy, still in that power of that magnetic pull to pull things out of the body, pull things down into the ground, right? The magnetic pull there. And we are doing this liver cleanse on the 13th. It's an hour class. It is a Kriya. So again, spinal Kriya. We will be moving. You will be on a mat. And we will be focusing on movements specifically that trigger the ST25 meridian in the body, triggering specifically the gallbladder and the liver to release, triggering them to let out toxins, triggering them to create the compression, the movement, the vibration, the sound, and the breath that's going to create pumping of the body and compression on those nerves and those meridian points to create immunity improvement of the gallbladder and the liver. And then I'm going to be giving everybody a 1-week liver detox menu with the recipes that they can take home with them so that they can pair that meal plan and those recipes specifically designed for liver cleaning with the class. And it's going to be so powerful. So that's May 13th. And again, you can call Healing Light Wellness Center to sign up for that. If you're craving more support, you're craving more rituals, and you just need a place to grow, come join us inside the Grounding and Glowing Sanctuary membership. You can visit cultivatingguts.com, sign up there. Again, first 7 days are free. It's like a no-brainer. And until next time, keep breathing, keep listening, keep cultivating the radiant truth in you. Satnam. Love you guys.